a member of Washington's Ring of Fame, Joe Theismann, joining us this morning on the show. Good morning, Joe.
Good morning, D.A. How are you? Happy New Year to you.
Back at you. Happy New Year. Thanks so much. I'm well. And, yesterday with the Vikings' crazy finish, I thought about you and that 83 team that you guys were on, because in the NFC title game, you had a lead at home. That lead went away. You guys led 21-0. And then you needed that late field goal to win, that late comeback drive to win like you guys did. Some echoes of the 83 NFC title game yesterday. Did you feel any of them?
Yeah, a little bit. You get off to such a great start. You think you're in control, but, it's the NFL. I think all of us that have played and all of us that watch the game realize that, a 25-point lead isn't safe anymore. A 20-point lead isn't safe anymore. And you sort of had the feeling that the Saints weren't going to be held. Had that ball not been tipped, that was intercepted, the second interception that drew through, they probably would have put points up down there. I mean, it just gives you an idea of how great he is and how dynamic that offense is. But, the Vikings basically pulled out a miracle. The first thing I thought of were the Baltimore Ravens and the Cincinnati Bengal game when the Ravens got knocked out of the playoff run, when Cincinnati scored on that miraculous play at the end of the game there. I mean, I jumped out of my seat yesterday. I literally jumped out of my seat and said, oh, my God, he caught it. Oh, my God, he's going to run. He's going to win. They're going to win. I can't believe it. And, so many of the different clips I've seen from people from Minnesota have done the same thing and went crazy. I mean, it was an unbelievable experience for them to be able to now play in the NFC Championship game and maybe have a chance to host a Super Bowl.
How does a locker room react to Marcus Williams, who botches the tackle, who misses Stephon Diggs, who lets that play up, and then you lose? How does the Saints team and his teammates respond to Marcus in the locker room?
I think different guys will handle it a different way. A lot of it has to do with how he handles it. This is sort of what they teach. If you look around the National Football League, safeties and corners don't tackle. They try and body block people. So this is a guy that basically did what, he's been doing, trying to body block somebody. I mean, he's a young man who just didn't understand what the situation was. That's the thing I can assume. But it's a tough locker room to be in. So often you hear coaches, everybody say one play doesn't make a difference in a game. Well, yes, it does. And in this case, one play did make a difference in the game. And when you make that mistake, you make that error. It's like I threw an interception in a Super Bowl before the end of the half that basically gave the Raiders a 21-3 advantage instead of a 14-3 advantage. So, I understand the pain that you go through, and it never goes away. Is he going to be back as a New Orleans Saint next year? I mean, there's a lot of questions that revolve around the young man. With social media today, how tough is it going to be for him? Is he going to be able to go out to dinner? How's he going to be able to conduct his personal life? That's the impact of sports on us as individuals. And I think it's going to take some real mental toughness to press through this whole thing for him. And in locker room, there's going to be resentment. There's going to be a lack of understanding. There's going to be empathy. I mean, every emotion you can think of will be experienced in that locker room.
Longtime NFL analyst and broadcaster Joe Theismann joining us here on CBS Sports Radio this morning. When we look at the Pittsburgh Steelers, they had all the talent in the world, at least on offense, but they seem to be constantly looking past the Jacksonville Jaguars and on to a rematch of the Patriots of the AFC title game. Do you think the Steelers got ahead of themselves, or is there kind of a theme here where the Steelers tend to maybe overlook opponents or play down to competition or just not bring out their best when it matters most?
No, I don't think they were looking past it. I really feel like you don't want to take anything away from Jacksonville. They ran the ball very effectively, and I think that's going to be their key. With play great defense, run the football. That hasn't changed since the beginning of time in football. If you're able to do that, you're probably going to control most of the football game. So that's what Jacksonville did. Pittsburgh was unable to control the running game. Jacksonville had a lot of third and not necessarily long situations. I mean, they didn't get to Blake once. The thing that made it so interesting to me was his conversions on third down, the ability to be able to convert on 3rd and 8, 3rd and 9. He ran the ball effectively. I thought a lot of the play action was something that obviously, New England's going to have to be aware of as they prepare for this game. But I think Jacksonville's going to do exactly what they did. They believe that they can win. It's a young group of guys. It's interesting about, you got Jacksonville and New England, two groups that one's been there in 7 straight AFC Championship game. The first one's in the playoffs for the first time back in the 90s. Then on the other side, you got Minnesota, who's never won a Super Bowl, who's hosting one. And you got the Eagles, who have come close so often and not had a chance. What's funny about the Eagles game is Nick Foles and, I believe, Case Keenum were on the Rams just as recently as a year or so ago.
Yeah.
So you've got, you really have the godfather of quarterbacks in this playoff run, and then you've got 3 young guys that are looking to make their bones. There's so many storylines, DA. It's exciting. But back to your question about the Steelers, I don't think they look past anybody. I thought that Antonio Brown made 2 of the greatest catches to go with, the greatest catches that he's made before in this game. I think the Steelers struggle stopping people from running the football. Now, they've done pretty well up till now, but you get a big back and an offensive line that can move people around, a very physical football team, and it made a difference. I don't think they look past anybody.
I'd love to get your take on the Falcons' play calling down inside the red zone. They've got a 1st and goal for the 9-yard line. A touchdown essentially wins that game, or at least puts them ahead with very little time to go for Nick Foles and the Eagles. What did you think about the 4 plays that the Falcons ran at the end of that game, including on 4th down, the rollout right side with Ryan?
Well, first of all, nobody's talked about this, but if you notice, the Atlanta Falcons, whether they were on the offense or defensive side of the ball, had footing problems. The guys were slipping all over the place. You had guys running open. Nick hit one of the receivers one time when a guy fell down. Julio Jones slipped a lot through the entire day. I tend to think that what happens is coaches get so hung up on trying to get the ball to, quote unquote, that one star. I always think about Michael Jordan in 7 championships, I believe that he's won. He didn't make all the last shots. John Paxton made one. Other guys were called upon to be able to make big plays in big moments. I think you take a shot with the first play when they went trips right, when they had Julio by himself out there, the world knew what they were going to do. Now it's time to go someplace else. Be creative. Do something different. And then at the end of the game, same thing, try and force the ball to Julio. And I didn't understand whatever that thing was on 2nd down. If nothing else, line up and see if you can pound it in the end zone. At least once, take a shot instead of throwing it around all the time. No, I thought the sequence of play calls was questionable at best.
Before I let you go, Joe, I want to ask you about this Jaguars team. I know we touched on it just a minute ago, but was there a young, aggressive team, brash team during your era that kind of came out of nowhere that played like this Jaguars team? Because nobody would have thought of them in the AFC title game this year.
Yeah, they were called the Washington Redskins.
Okay. Yeah.
We were. This is the thing. You have experience versus lack of experience. Sometimes having too much experience gets you a little too comfortable. But when you don't know enough to be scared, you're not scared. And I think that's where the Jacksonville Jaguars are. That's where we were in 82. At the end of 81, we went 8-3. 82, we go 12-1. 83, we go 16-3. 84, we go like 11-5. We were a young football team that really didn't know how to be scared. And I think that's exactly where Jacksonville is. They'll go into New England, and they're not scared. They went to Pittsburgh. They beat Pittsburgh twice in Pittsburgh. They don't care. In Pittsburgh, it was supposed to be Pittsburgh and New England. They were supposed to go at it, and Pittsburgh was supposed to have beaten New England the last time. So there's a lot of supposed tos in this, and I think that Jacksonville is in the exact situation they want to be in. A bunch of guys that really are having fun. They don't know what to be afraid of, and so they're going to go out and keep on having fun.
Joe Theismann is a college football Hall of Famer, Super Bowl champion, former NFL MVP as well, longtime analyst and voice around the NFL. You can follow him on Twitter as well. Check him out. That's at Theismann7 on Twitter. Joe, it's always fun to catch up and go down memory lane, man. Thanks so much.